live from Kscope23 with the one and only Karen Cannell. Karen, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
You've obviously been here all week, but
yes.
I want to talk more about you. You've been volunteering for ODTUG forever, and you have been most recently the vice president of the board. You've been the secretary. Like, what does ODTUG mean to you, and why have you been volunteering?
Oh, wow. Thank you, Jackie. My husband asks me that question all the time, but then he says, I see it in you. I see it in you. I know it makes you happy. And trust me, sometimes through the past years, I've said, what the heck am I doing? But, it's hard to look back and think how many years of different roles and different things. But to me, ODTUG is growing and learning and caring and friends and connections. And because of those connections, that growth and the confidence to do things, I never ever would have had TH Technology. It never even would have been named TH Technology because there's a joke behind that, and I wouldn't have had the courage to do that. But I had people supporting me from the day one when I volunteered. I remember Donna Rishi-Winkleman looking at me as my first Kscope. I said, can I help? She said, oh, we need an assistant editor. And I said, well, I don't know, I was an editor of my yearbook or something. She said, oh, that's perfect. And then they just welcomed me and let me have ideas and let me grow. And so I did the technical journal. And actually that was the best thing ever for me because when we had a written journal, I as an assistant editor, and then I became editor, had to find articles, and they had to cross all communities. So I had to run around and find these people and literally beg them for articles. And then I had to read the articles and edit the articles and put things together. And we used to have kind of a blog graphic, and I had to go to the board. There was always a board liaison, and I remember going to John King saying, this is dull. Can we do pictures? And but so we got pictures, and we made it more fun. And then I knew all the board members because I was bugging all of them. Who should I go to for an EPM article? Who should I go to for this article? And then we got columnists. So Mark Rittman was on the board, and as I almost forgot about this. So we used to have, back when we wrote white papers, we would read every single white paper that got submitted to the conference. So when you got accepted to speak, you had to write a white paper too. So we would read every single white paper, and I mean, stacks of paper.
I can't imagine.
Kathleen,
it's hard enough now with just the abstracts.
Kathleen used to print them. And so we would read them all, and we had a team. We had an editor's, and we had the Best of Kscope, Editor's Choice Award. And so I would have to get up on stage at the conference and present this Editor's Choice Award. And I met Kevin McGinley that way. I met Alex Newton. I met Lucas Yelema. I met Mia. Mia was on the board during that time. And they were all happy to let me do all this work. And I'm this like naive newbie thinking, oh, I'm really helping out, when they're like, they shuffled all these white papers off to me. But I learned about all these different things. I worked with Peter Koletsky and Paul Dorsey.
You know absolutely everybody.
I know everybody because I had to beg them all for articles. And then after a while, they said, well, why don't you run for the board? And I'm like, well, I don't know enough. And they said, no, run. And I didn't get in. And it was Cameron that said, oh, no one gets in their first time. So I ran again. And every year I go on vacation in St. John. So I was literally walking on the beach in St. John and the phone rang. And I forgot all about everything, And it was Cameron saying, oh, you got in. And I'm like, now what? And well, I didn't know. Again, I was very naive. So I'm like, oh, now I'm on the board. And I called my husband, I called Gary, And I said, wow, I got on the board. He goes, so what does that mean? And are they going to pay you? I said, no, this is all.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And my husband has this funny laugh. So he did that funny laugh. And then he said, well, what does it mean? And all I could say is, you know, all that ODTUG stuff I do? And now I do more of it. And yeah, so he just did that crazy laugh. But, and the first year on the board, I was petrified, but I had a mentor in John King, and he said, speak up, speak your mind, get on the executive committee, because that's where all the decisions are made, which is not true, but I think he was just trying to nudge me to get more involved. And so I worked with Tim Toe and Barbara Morris and Bambi Price. And
like I said, you know everybody.
I worked with all these people, and I think maybe the first year I was on the board was Long Beach, and Edward was the conference chair, or one of the first years, and then they did this reality TV thing, and Tim Toe was on the board then, and we're all getting prepared for we all had to sing, so I did this pants on the ground thing. That video is out there somewhere.
Yeah.
But it made me feel a part of. And then what happened, now I'm responsible for, like, technical journal, I was behind the scenes. I could do my little writing and my editing, and I know these people. But once I was on the board, now I have to meet more people. And I'm like an ambassador. And we've always had the problem, we want more volunteers. Well, so I need to talk to this one. Hey, can you help us with this? Hey, can you help us with this? And then we had the leadership program. And I swear I got more out of it than the people in the program did. But I watched people grow. And it was really cool. We did the interviews, and then we got to, I think Mike did it the first year, and then I did it the years after that. And I would love to start that again. Maybe that's a thing I can do.
Exactly.
That's a thing I can do.
You're not leaving us.
But to see people come in and grow, and like Sarah Beth, who's now, well, yourself, Sarah Beth, who's now on our a track lead, doing an awesome job. And
yeah, to see people come up through the ranks and
is really,
take up leadership roles is really
it's been really fun. And it's, the leadership program was not grooming people for the board. We had to dispel that myth all the time. It was giving them confidence in their leadership skills to become leaders in their community, in their job, wherever they are. And some people have carried on with ODTUG and others have not. And so we're doing, I forgot about that. And every year there was a new thing, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And most people do not know that our board was busier during COVID than any other year, because I learned more about contracts, I learned more about safety, more about how to engage people and keep people connected, and what was possible and what was not. And now that we're past COVID, we hope it's rebuilding. It's giving people the confidence to come back and get involved again. And so I don't know how I got on the conference as conference chair. Oh, that was another thing. After being, oh my gosh, after being on doing the editor's choice, it was really natural to, because we finally stopped the technical journal because nobody was reading white papers, and nobody wanted to write white papers. They were mutinying. Our speakers were mutinying, saying, I'm not doing white papers. And Martin was a spearheader of that, kill the journal. So we did that. So then I rolled on to doing reviews, abstract reviews on the, and I love that. And I could do all communities because I knew all the material. And I'd been to enough conferences that I knew the speakers. So, and we keep track of all that information. And we had online material for a long time. We got to revive that. Oh my gosh, so much.
You've pretty much done every role in this
I
organization.
have not been treasurer,
Not
and I was
president.
not president But we had a Tim,
Yeah.
and we had a Tim Toe as treasurer, and then we had a Gary Kriske as treasurer, and then we had Jim stepped in as treasurer. So not a role I wanted. Yeah, so I missed those.
But you've been on the board for 6 years. You're rolling off at the end of this year, and you just received the Presidential Award for Lifetime Service. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, reflecting back on all of that, do you have any favorite memories of ODTUG that you can share with us?
Oh my gosh. There are a lot. This will sound silly. It's embarrassing as heck, but Pants on the Ground, by all means, is
It's a classic if you haven't seen it. Go to
yeah,
YouTube.
it's a classic. It's a classic. There was another one where I was actually a cheerleader on stage. I don't know that there's film of that, but doing the journal, I said, I am just a cheerleader. That's all I do. I run around begging people. And so they said, okay, be a cheerleader. And so I did that. I think, and then there's all kinds of fun things. There's different special events that we did with the outfits. When Apex grew to be as big as the EPM community, that was really rewarding. To be, to get that ACE director thing, and that was ODTUG related, because someone looked at me and said, wait a minute, why are you not a director? And that happened at a Kscope. And just being acknowledged that, yeah, you know what you're talking about. And because I thought that was never going to happen, because the Apex community, there's so many stars. And we just came out of the Women in Technology luncheon with imposter syndrome and all that. So, and that was okay with me because I was doing my part. But to finally get, I have to say, last year's conference, being able to hold the conference and open the door that first day.
See people again.
People have no idea what it took to put a conference on and keep ODTUG going. Because it was really a decision. If we didn't have a conference, how would we keep the community, how would we keep the organization going? So that was huge. And then this year, this will sound crazy, walking in and seeing bacon at breakfast, I cannot tell you, seeing people happily eating bacon at breakfast.